got your merch a while ago off my porch.
Wait, why are you guys all spread out? You're supposed to be contained. Why aren't you guys contained? In the pop cup pen. Hello. Guys, today... Well, I was yesterday and today... My brain is like the size of a pea or something. I'm like super... Woo! Hello, I'm super duper tired. But like mentally, not... Not... I don't know why. We don't know why it's happening. I have to turn this off for this stream because we're playing. Well, we're not playing. We're reading, and I can't read with an uwu voice. That's too silly. That's too silly. Anyway, that's why I didn't stream yesterday. I was shutting down brain-wise. Boa, Lawa, what's this? What's this? I don't know how to do the the ooh voice. I guess to be fair, today my voice is very white, so it fits. It fits the ooh voice. Oh whoa, oh whoa, ooh woo woo, a boo woo. Okay, I gotta hide this. Wait, I didn't. Did the timer start? I don't know if the timer started. I guess I don't think it started. So I gotta. Why does this hurt my jaw? Talking like this hurts my jaw. Also, like, I'm not swallowing all my saliva, so my mouth is wet. It's weird. I think I need Suibot to make a timer. Suibot. Ooh woo. Oh, it should. It should have. Why? Where was... Oh, wait. No. It didn't do it. Why didn't it do it? That's so sad. Jaw... Jawline reveal. Guys, I want my commissions, but they're not coming. They're supposed to be done by now, but they weren't here today. Or yesterday. Or the day before that. It was very sad. It was a sad day. Oh, it's been 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Today, we're gonna read Warrior Cats. Warrior Cats. I'll finish the book. We'll finish the book today. Oh boy, Warrior Cat. Warrior Cats. Meow meow. There's this one clip of me doing the Ulu voice with Swen. I was trying to say, Ulu Serenity. I forget what I was saying, but it was funny. 4 minutes. It's been 4 minutes. Imagine if I just talked like this all the time. What if that was my voice? Always. And it was... Would you get annoyed? Would you be sad? It hurts me. It hurts my jaw. I don't know why. Maybe because I have to use my tongue in a weird way. I have to use my tongue. I have the power to do anything. I will never be mad. Oh, that's so nice of you. You're so sweet. You're so kind. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. I kind of feel like my voice sounds like it's sick. I'm worried that it was the Benadryl that I took yesterday, but like, what if it isn't? Hi, Kiki! I'm Rem and I'm sleepy. That's me, I'm Ren. I'm Rem and I'm sleepy. I played Deadlock today, and there was this Victor. And she was so evil and mean. He was when we were losing, like when our god or whatever was getting beaten up, he came into our spawn base and he was surviving the like attacking of it. But I didn't play Deadlock with you. Was that you, Pride? Were you the one doing that? You were going in the spawn point and trying to beat us up while we were at spawn. And then you died, but then because you're Victor, you resurrected, and then you killed us, and then you came back to life, and then you were still in spawn, and then you were still killing us. Even his teammates were like, I feel like this is illegal to watch. Yeah, not cool, Pride. Not cool. Charging them out is even... That's a real Victor moment. I like when Lash can grab them all. I realized that Lash's ult, if he's able to grab you all during an urn, he can like throw you away. Also, have you guys noticed that the NPCs, like the characters' voice lines, when they're saying the urn, they say jar? Has it always been that? Or did they change it? Like, they've got the jar, or the jar is here. It used... Was it a jar before? Or did they change it? A jar? I'm scared of Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, that was his idea. An urn is kind of like a jar, but the urn is where dead people live. That's jarring. Just full of a dead person. If you have a jar and you put dead people ashes in it, would it become an urn? Or would it just be a jar with ashes in it? The ashes jar. Or would it be an urn? Dead jar. That's right. Graves has a jar of dead. Jar. Urn. An urn is a vase or container, typically with a rounded body, a narrow neck, and a footed pedestal. It needs a footed pedestal. Jar lore is thickening. Urns. Cremation urns. Can a jar be an urn? Is this a joke? The AI... Is AI making fun of me? I accidentally wrote jar wrong. I wrote J-H-A-R because I was writing fast. And then the AI overview said, yes, a jar, often spelled J-H-A-R. Is that real? Or is he just like... Is that just a common... Is that just a common typo that people do? Yeah, it's ASMR book day! In fact, it's very common for people to use decorative containers like ceramic ginger jars, cookie jars, or even vintage glass jars. This just in, folks. You can put your ashes in a cookie jar. I think that'd be nice. Like one of the chicken ones. I have a really good chicken cookie jar. And then you could seal it really well, right? What if you think it's cookie dust? I think you would tell if you like licked your finger and you ate it. That would be a lot of cookie dust though. What did they do to Shrek? I just saw that they changed the girl's eye color because she would have been trans otherwise. Imagine your ashes in a coffee can. I think that would happen. Shrek 5. Keezer? You think it'll taste good?
Había una vez un horrible ogro y un burro trastornado que
I got the Spanish one.
emprendieron el viaje a la mágica ciudad de mucho más lejano.
¡No manches! ¡Ya viene! ¡Una nueva aventura! ¿Sabes qué significa? Me voy a tunear, me voy a poner bien mamé. Voy a hacer crossfit, ayuno intermitente y sentadillas para las pompis.
No digas burradas.
En otras palabras,
I thought he was supposed to look older.
Shrek y Burro en busca de otra.
No, no lo digas.
Dos mejores amigos.
No te hagas ideas.
He doesn't look that much older. He just looks the same with slight smile wrinkles on his eyes, which I feel like he shouldn't have because he scowled most of his life.
En la más grande y más loca. ¡Au! Aquí traigo la más.
Why is gingerbread cookie got gumdrop butt cheeks?
¡Aventura!
¿Quieres hacer un muñeco?
Más rápido, Shrek.
I do like how their carriage is a giant onion.
El mismo burro de siempre.
El mismo que vista y calza. Shrek y Burro, dos leales amigos, se van de aventura a la
Mermaids.
gran ciudad. ¡Ay, esto es malo! Baby, come back. Any kind of fool could see there was something in everything about you. Roxanne!
¡Burro!
Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play.
In theaters 2027. Baby, come back! We didn't really, I mean, to be fair, it was in Spanish, so I didn't understand what they were saying. But I couldn't grasp what it was about based off of this trailer. It kind of looked like they were going to Happily Ever After, except it was trashed. And then at one point, Fiona was riding on a broomstick, and then there was a bunch of mermaids swimming next to her. I think she was on a broomstick. The fun thing about fairy tale worlds is that you can really have fun with the way that each fairy tale is portrayed, or how it translates to like real world stuff. Like they had the police car, and they had two fairies in the little alarm light alarm thing on top of the cart. And they were flashing. Who's dancing there? It doesn't let me see. Alright guys, we're gonna start reading. Because I'm dead. I've lost myself. And the faster that we read, then the more I'm successful. I am alive, but I'm like a zombie, which is funny because I just started reading a fic about zombies. I'm beautiful, thank you. Yeah, I want to know why the cookie gingerbread man has gumdrop butts. If before he said he had gumdrop buttons, now he's got gumdrop butts. We should be able to finish this relatively quickly, I think. There's 24 chapters, I think. And we're on chapter 19. So we should be able to finish it relative ease. Hopefully my voice doesn't disappear. Because even though I haven't been talking, maybe it's because I haven't been talking. I don't know. For whatever reason, it's taking me a gallant effort to speak. Quickly! Aw. That's nice of you. It's so calm and cozy. Guys, I think I want to get into RuneScape. Should I get into the old RuneScape or the new RuneScape? Probably the new one, right? That one would still be updated. Is RuneScape still a thing? Yes, RuneScape is still very much alive and incredibly active. RuneScape 3. I see. Oh. Old RuneScape? This is the most popular version. This is modern, continuously updated version with upgraded graphics and a hotkey-based combat system. Microtransactions. Would you play the old version? I think I would play the new version. RuneScape Dragon Wilds? There's a new one. Survival-based adventure. Buy now. Oh, you have to buy it. I don't want to do that. Release date trailer.
Seek more than survival.
Ew. This isn't what I want. I want RuneScape. Oh! Accidentally downloaded it. That's not what I meant to do either. I just wanted to learn more about it. RS. Player avatar. Wow. Over 320 million accounts created. Player avatar. Oh, this was updated June 8th. Player avatar refresh has arrived. Wow. Let's see when the last update for old school. Oh. Well, it looks like old school is still being updated, too. The Fractured Archive. Maybe I'll try both of them. But I've never tried the new version of it ever. Oh well. Old school is still kicking. Because that's where the nostalgia is born. Okay, let's begin reading. Previously on Warrior Cats the Apprentice's Quest, we had... We made it to the grove, where the cats were congregated. There were a bunch of cats. They didn't quite know what was going on, though. They were kind of mean. They had weird ways, and very much not SkyClan-esque. However, they still kind of hung out with them, and they're like, I guess they're okay. I don't know what's up. But then, when Alderpaw was on a hunting patrol, he ran into a cat who was actually the real SkyClan cat member. And he said that this band of rogues burst into the SkyClan camp and chased everybody out. And his mate died in that scuffle. And everybody scattered about. And he's the only one that hunts close to the old territories. And Alderpaw was like, oh, this makes sense. This is why SkyClan needs our help. Because they've been cast away. And then the leader of the fake SkyClan showed up and was like, this guy's been talking too much. Time to kill him. And so he killed him. Not Alderpaw, the other guy. And then he forced Alderpaw back to the camp and was like, you guys are our prisoners now. And they're like, what's going on? That the rest of the patrol was like that. The rest of the patrol was like, what happened? Well, you were gone. And then he was like, I found out that this is a fake SkyClan. The real SkyClan is scattered. He did! He killed him because he was yapping too much. And they're like, oh, that makes so much sense. These guys are brutes. They don't even treat their elders nice. Or their queens. And they don't know what medicine cats are. So, that's what's up. I'm shifting around something. And so now that they're prisoners in a den, being kept captive. And that's where we ended. Alright, chapter 19. Alarpa dozed uneasily, only to rouse again as he felt a paw prodding him gently in the shoulder. He opened his eyes. There was just enough light for him to see Sparkpaw staring down at him. "Shh," she whispered. "We need to go, now." "Hi, Hyken." Alarpa blinked at her. "What are you talking about?" "The rogues are asleep," Sparkpaw murmured, "but who knows for how long? The sun will be up soon. This is the best chance we'll have." Alderpaw staggered to his paws, stretching his jaws in a massive yawn. As he arched his back, stretching his cramped body, he saw Mole Whisker and Cherryfall standing just behind his sister. Needlepaw, looking unusually hesitant, was waiting near the entrance to the den. "I think this is a bad idea," she mumbled. "If they catch us..." Mole Whisker brushed his tail across her shoulder. "We'll just have to make sure they don't," he said. Needlepaw's head drooped in reluctant agreement as Mole Whisker turned to the others and jerked his head to signal they should move. He led the way out into the open. A couple of tail lengths away, Raven was sleeping with her tail curled over her nose. Alderpaw guessed she would be in trouble with Darktail when he woke up. Silently, the questing cats wove their way among the rocks, heading towards the water's edge. Alderpaw's pelt prickled as he imagined rogue cats looking out from their dens in the cliff face and spotting their stealthy movements. But no warning yowls split the dawn silence. Eventually, they reached the river and turned downstream. Mole Whisker picked up the pace until they were loping softly over the rocks. Alderpaw shivered in the damp, chilly air. The sky was covered with cloud, and there was no sign of where the sun would rise. Before they had gone very far, they came to a spot where a spur of rock jutted out from the cliff. The river curled around it, running fast and deep. "Mouse dung," Mole Whisker muttered as he scrambled to the top of the rock. "Can't we ever get out of this filthy place?" Alderpaw struggled up after him, driving his claws into tiny cracks and feeling the grit of digging into his pads. Feeling the grit digging into his pads. To his relief, the rocks sloped down more gently on the other side, and he was able to slide down easily to stand beside Mole Whisker. "At least now we can't be seen from the camp," Cherryfall mewed as the others joined them. "We still need to get a move on," Mole Whisker commented. "Don't forget that the rogues can follow our scent." "Then maybe we should cross the river," Alderpaw suggested. "That would break our scent and make it hard for Darktail and the rest to follow us. It would give us a better chance of getting clear." "Good idea," Cherryfall responded. "Let's look for a place to cross." But as Mole Whisker swung into motion again, Sparkpaw hung back. "What's the matter?" Mole Whisker asked, a trace of irritation in his voice. "I'm wondering if we should leave," Sparkpaw replied hesitantly. "StarClan sent us here, and we haven't found SkyClan. Maybe we should stay close by and look for them." "We can't help SkyClan now," Alderpaw responded grimly, even though he admired his littermate for her courage in making the suggestion. "We have no idea where they've gone, and if we try to stay in the woods, Darktail and his rogues will surely find us. Maybe when we get home, Bramblestar will have some idea of what we can do to help SkyClan, but this quest..." He paused, willing his voice not to shake. "This quest is a failure. The best we can do is get home safely." "He's right," Cherryfall meowed, touching her apprentice sympathetically on her shoulder. "We did everything we could, but we can't save SkyClan right now." Sparkpaw sighed, nodding. "I guess so." Mole Whisker took the lead again, padding along the edge of the river. Alderpaw looked out for a place where it would be safe to cross. But it was still too dark to tell how deep the water was, and it was rushing past quickly, a tumbling current that could easily sweep a cat away. "RiverClan cats can swim," he thought with a shudder, "but we're not RiverClan cats, and I don't want to try it." There are trees further downstream, Sparkpaw pointed out, as if she shared her brother's thoughts. Maybe there'll be a way to cross there. Cherryfall gave a brisk nod. Good idea. Let's hurry. The sun will be up soon, and the rogues will be waking. She set off, bounding towards the trees, and the others followed. The first trees they reached were small and spindly, and too far away from the water to be any help in crossing. Elderpaw had hoped for a fallen tree trunk like the one that the clans used to cross the lake for gatherings, but the only log he spotted was wedged at an angle into the bank, the far end jutting out into the current. A little further on, bigger trees began to appear, interspersed by bushes. This would be a good place to hunt, Sparkpaw panted as she hurried along beside her brother. No time, Elderpaw gasped in response. My belly feels so empty, Sparkpaw complained. I wish... Look, over here! Cherryfall's voice interrupted Sparkpaw. She ran up to a tree that was leaning towards the river. Its long branches hung over the water, stretching almost as far as the opposite side. This is perfect! As he bounded closer, Elderpaw thought that the tree looked dangerous, but he didn't object. Crossing here was obviously their best chance of avoiding the rogues. Molewhisker murmured, sizing up the tree with an intent gaze. Those branches might be long enough, and if our scent disappears here, Darktail might think that we fell into the river and got swept away. It's worth a try, Elderpaw agreed, though his belly was churning with apprehension. I'll go first, Sparkpaw volunteered, climbing swiftly up the slanting trunk of the tree, then edging out onto one of the longest branches. Come on, it's okay. As Sparkpaw ventured further out over the river, Molewhisker followed her up the trunk, with Cherryfall hard on his paws. Elderpaw managed to tear his gaze away from his sister's progress to peer upstream and check that none of the rogues had appeared in pursuit. Although the dawn light was gradually strengthening, there was no sign of movement. I suppose it's too much to hope that they won't come. You're next! Needlepaw's voice drew Elderpaw's attention back to the tree. By now, Sparkpaw had almost reached the point where she would have to leap from the branch to the far bank of the river. Molewhisker and Cherryfall were close behind her. Elderpaw hardly dared watch as they balanced precariously on the narrow branch. No, you go first, he mewed to Needlepaw. I'll keep a lookout. Needlepaw looked reluctant, but after a moment's hesitation, she shrugged. If you say so. She scrambled up the tree trunk with a whisk of her tail and headed out along the branch. With no reason to delay any longer, Elderpaw followed. It was easy to clamber up the leaning trunk, but when he crept out onto the branch, it felt sturdy enough under his paws. Oh, and when he, not but when he. But the weight of the cats up ahead made it dip low towards the water. It would have been smarter to go one by one, Elderpaw thought, digging his claws in hard. We don't have time for that. His belly lurched as he saw Sparkpaw crouch and bunch her muscles, ready for the leap onto the bank. The branch bounced wildly as she took off, and Elderpaw let out a yelp of fear as he almost lost his grip. A moment later, he drew in a long breath of relief as he saw his littermate land safely on the opposite bank. Within the next few heartbeats, Molewhisker and Cherryfall joined her. How much do you want to guess that the branch is going to fall and him and Needlepaw are going to be washed up? And then it becomes a quest with only him and Needlepaw. A likely outcome. 100%. That would be crazy! Just ahead of Elderpaw, Needlepaw edged forward, a mouse length at a time, then halted, gripping the branch grimly with her claws. The branch was dipping and bending dangerously under her weight. Keep going, Elderpaw urged her. Needlepaw glanced over her shoulder. I'm scared of falling into the water, she hissed. Okay? You'll be fine, Elderpaw meowed. Better than if the rogues catch up with us. But as soon as Needlepaw started edging forward again, the branch started to groan and creak. so frozen by fear that he could hardly move, Alderpaw started to back up, but he was too late. He heard a tearing sound as the branch gave way, and a screech of terror from Needlepaw, abruptly cut off as the two cats plunged into the freezing cold stream. Alderpaw flailed his legs in the surging water, terrified as the cold, unfamiliar touch enfolded him. The current was so fast that he was swept away, not knowing which way was up. A heavy, rushing pressure filled his ears, and when he tried to open his eyes, he was blinded by dark water. Desperately, he kicked and kicked, pain growing in his chest until he thought he would lose consciousness. Then his head broke to the surface. Gratefully, he took a gulp of air and thrashed his legs with the flow of the current to keep himself afloat. He glanced around to see if he could spot Needlepaw, but there was no sign of her. It's still too dark to see much, he thought, hoping that she was somewhere near him in this chaos of water. I have to burp, but it's stuck. He strained his ears to catch her cries or calls from his clanmates on the bank, but the river rushing in his ears cut off all other sounds. The current seemed to be moving faster than ever. Looking ahead, Alderpaw saw the tumbling surface abruptly come to an end, with nothing but gloomy sky beyond. The roaring in his ears grew louder. A waterfall! Alderpaw knew that he had to reach the bank. He kicked out across the current, struggling to drag himself to safety, but the force of water was too strong. I'm not going to make it. This is where I'm going to die. Then Alderpaw felt his forepaws snag on something jutting out of the water. Somehow the contact pulled him towards the bank, and as the surge lifted him for a heartbeat, he realized he was clinging to Needlepaw. The sight of the bank so close gave Alderpaw fresh hope. Keep going, he gasped to Needlepaw. We can do it! But however hard the two cats fought, the river was stronger. Alderpaw glimpsed the smooth curve of the water as it reached the falls and let out a yelp of alarm as he realized he was going over. He found himself falling, torn away from Needlepaw, his body tossed and thrown about by the waterfall. His panic-stricken yowl was cut off as he slammed down into the surface below, and all the breath was driven out of his body. Everything went black as Alderpaw sank deep into the water. Then light seared his eyes as he bobbed back to the surface, dazed and struggling feebly, surprised that he was still alive. Something shoved him hard at the back of his neck, propelling him towards the bank. Soon he felt his paws touch mud. Then he hauled himself upward, clambering clear out of the water. Turning, he saw Needlepaw dragging herself out after him, her fur plastered to her body. Dang, Needlepaw, saved him 2 times in that river trip. Alderpaw collapsed on his belly, his flanks heaving and shivering with cold, and with relief at having survived. Needlepaw sank down beside him. Catching his breath at last, Alderpaw strained to catch any sight or sound of his other companions. I can't hear the others, he mewed. Can you? Hi, Christian. Needlepaw just shook out her wet fur. No, she yowled. I don't hear them. I can't hear anything over the water. I told you I didn't like it. Alderpaw turned an anxious circle, but all he could see were trees and sky. All he could hear was the running water. All he could smell was the wet dirt beneath him, and the fear wafting off both him and Needlepaw. Well, what do we do now? Hi, Spider. It's a good question. Technically, they only knew the way home based on where they were going? But no, they were following the river, right? Turn left on the river and then you would reach the gorge. So they could follow the river to the point where they entered, they started going straight. I don't know. Chapter 20. At first, Alderpaw lay in an exhausted stupor with Needlepaw at his side, but the thought of his clanmates soon roused him. We should get up, he panted. Try to figure out a way to get back to the others. Needlepaw gave her shoulder for a couple of feeble licks. I don't know about you, she meowed, but I need to rest. But we don't know what happened to them, Elderpaw asked, with a fretful look upstream. We need to go find them. And how are we going to find SkyClan now? Needlepaw snorted. You need to quit worrying about others so much and start worrying about yourself. Let them find us. Meanwhile, we need to rest. Elderpaw realized that Needlepaw was right. Staggering to his paws, he gazed around, only to see monsters dashing to and fro on a thunder path a few fox lengths away, with a row of two-legged dens on the far side. The air was filled with the reek of monsters and two-legs. I don't believe it, he groaned. Two-legs everywhere. It's fine, Needlepaw responded, waving her tail towards a tangle of elder bushes growing between the water's edge and the thunder path. We can make a nest here. The two-legs won't find us. Hoping she was right, Elderpaw followed her as she thrust her way deep into the bushes and flattening a clump of long grass for a makeshift nest. His legs aching with weariness, Elderpaw curled up beside her. Soon Needlepaw's snores echoed around their den, but in spite of his exhaustion, Elderpaw found it hard to sleep. The sound and stink of the monsters was too close, and the events of their desperate escape from the rogues kept flickering through his mind. Snuggling up to Needlepaw, Elderpaw filled his nose with her scent, trying to imagine that he was back in camp, snoozing in the Apprentice's den with Sparkpaw. Finally, he slept. When Elderpaw awoke, bright sunlight was filtering through the branches of the elder bushes. Anxiety stabbed at him as he saw that Needlepaw had vanished. The sound of two-leg voices drifted into Elderpaw's ears, and when he crept cautiously out of the bushes, he spotted several two-leg kits playing beside the nests, tossing something brightly colored to each other. A wave of homesickness for the lake and the forest flooded over Elderpaw. Those kits are so noisy. When will we ever get a bit of peace? Then the grass parted to reveal Needlepaw, trotting up to him with a plump sparrow clamped in her jaws. Fresh kill, she announced, dropping it at Elderpaw's paws. Thanks, StarClan, you're back, Elderpaw exclaimed. I was worried about you. Needlepaw flicked her tail. No need. Come on, eat. What do you think we ought to do next? Elderpaw asked, his jaws watering as he gulped down warm bites of the sparrow. It was good to sit in the shelter of the bushes and let the sun warm his damp fur, but he knew they shouldn't stay there long. Look for the others, I guess, Needlepaw replied with her mouth full. Elderpaw was glad that he didn't have to argue with her. He couldn't imagine turning for home without at least trying to find his clanmates. When they had finished eating, he and Needlepaw headed back upstream as far as the waterfall. I guess we have to go this way, he muttered, gazing up at the moss-covered rocks that jutted from the cliff face beside the cascading water. Doesn't look too hard, Needlepaw meowed, springing up onto the first of the rocks. Not sure he agreed. Elderpaw followed. The river thundered down beside him, and his legs began to shake as he remembered how he had been swept away and almost drowned. The rocks were slippery from the spray, and if he sank his claws into the moss, it pulled away and almost made him lose his balance. Needlepaw was climbing determinedly ahead of him, showering him with grit and drops of water. Ew. Elderpaw was panting hard by the time he reached the top. He would have liked to rest again, but urgency gave strength to his paws as he thought about his clanmates. He and Needlepaw trudged on beside the stream, now and again calling out to their friends and casting back and forth as they tried to pick up their scent. Elderpaw began to grow discouraged as they drew closer to the gorge again. Maybe the rogues recaptured them. They could all be dead by now. Hey! Needlepaw exclaimed at last, pausing to taste the air among the roots of an elm tree that grew closer to the waterside. Over here! Elderpaw padded over to join her and sniffed into the leaf-lined hollow made by the roots. He could discern the scents of all three of his clanmates. They must have stopped here to rest, he mewed, his voice shaking with relief. Sparkpaw! Mole Whisker! Cherryfall! He called, hoping that they might still be within earshot, but no cat replied. I'll tell you something, Needlepaw murmured, concentrating hard as she followed the scents away from the tree. They were traveling downstream. I'll bet you a moon of dawn patrols they were looking for us. Elderpaw's heart began to thump with excitement. Then did we pass them on the way? I don't see how we could have, Needlepaw looked puzzled for a moment. Anyway, Otherpaw went on, energy surging back into his paws. All we have to do is follow their scent. Come on. And climb back down that StarClan cursed waterfall? Needlepaw groaned as she followed him. The scent trail led downstream, sometimes by the waterside, sometimes ranging further away. Now and again, individual scents split off from the main trail, but they always joined it again. They're searching for us, Needlepaw mewed. I can't think how we missed them. But when they reached the bushes near the two-leg dens where they had curled up to rest, they found that the scent trail led onward, past their makeshift den and along the grass between the river and the thunder path. I don't believe it, Needlepaw snarled with a lash of her tail. They missed us. They must have walked straight past while we were asleep. Alderpaw bit back a growl of frustration. We were so wet. The water would have washed out our scent, he meowed. And all these two-leg scents don't help. But it's not so bad. At least we know that they're alive, and they haven't been recaptured by Darktail. All we have to do is follow them. But when he and Needlepaw headed downstream, they found it wasn't as easy as that. There were so many conflicting reeks of two-legs and monsters covering the scent trail. Finally, they came to a place where Alderpaw guessed that a monster must have stopped, leaving splashes of something dark and foul-smelling on the grass. Ew. The cat's scent was completely swamped, and they couldn't pick it up again on the other side. We've lost them. Alderpaw mewed. They probably think we drowned, Needlepaw responded in a tiny voice. Who knows where they went after this? They must still be following the river, Alderpaw pointed out. Where else is there for them to go? There's no way of crossing here. Maybe. Needlepaw seemed unusually despondent. But what if we're wrong? What if we never find them? Alderpaw swallowed hard. Then we have to find our own way back to camp from here, he started, trying to sound confident. If they give up looking for us, that's where they'll go. Glancing around, Alderpaw realized that he had no idea where they were. They had approached the gorge from the opposite bank, and everything looked different from where he was standing now. He wasn't even certain if they'd been swept past the point where they had first come upon the river. We have to cross back to the other side, he meowed, and then head towards the setting sun. That's a bit vague, Needlepaw pointed out with a sniff. We could completely miss the lake and the clan territories. And don't even think about swimming across the river, because I'm not going to. No cat asked you to. Alderpaw meowed mildly. We'll head downstream on this side to start with, and maybe there'll be a fallen tree or something where we can cross. We might even catch up with the others if we're lucky. Needlepaw let out a snort. We could use a little bit of luck. By this time, the sun was starting to go down, casting scarlet light over the river. Alderpaw realized they would soon have to look for somewhere to spend the night. At least we're far from those two-leg dens, he thought. Soon the thunderpath veered away from the river, so that a grassy stretch of ground opened up, dotted here and there with clumps of bushes. This would be a good place to rest, Alderpaw meowed, stretching his jaws in a yawn. Any chance of prey? Needlepaw perked up at the thought of hunting. Just watch me. She disappeared into the nearest bushes and returned a few moments later with the limp body of a blackbird dangling from her jaws. Meanwhile, Alderpaw found a sheltered hollow underneath the branches of a hazel bush and scrapped together some dead leaves to make a nest. As he ate his share of the fresh kill, he realized how exhausted he was. Not even his worries about finding his way home were enough to keep him from falling into a deep sleep. StarClan still did not visit him in his dreams. For 3 more sunrises! Holy! Alderpaw and Needlepaw trekked along the river. Their hopes revived when now and again they picked up traces of their friend. Hi, Monty! Welcome in! How was Final Fantasy? Did you have fun? I'm tired today, so my voice is a little funny wonky. Waifu Wednesday. I hope you had a wonderful stream. And I hope you are happy to sit down and listen to me read. Because that's what stream is today. Reading. So how did all of you escape the Pop Cub pen? Why are you guys everywhere? It was good. Hope you're drinking and got stuff for your throat. I do. I've got water with me. It's like my throat, my voice is weird, but it's because my brain is weird. If that makes sense? I'm not sure if it does, but we want to be free. And okay, 3 more sunrises. It's been 3 whole days. 3 more sunrises. Alderpaw and Needlepaw trekked along the river. Their hopes revived when now and again they picked up traces of their friend's scent and knew that they were still following in their paw steps. The river rolled on, wider and stronger now. There was nowhere safe for the cats to cross. During the 3rd day, Alderpaw began to pick up the reek of monsters again, and there was a haze in the air ahead of them. Shortly after Sunheim, more two-leg dens loomed on the horizon. That's a really big two-leg place, Alderpaw meowed, stifling a groan. And I know we never passed it on the way to the gorge. We've come too far downriver. Needlepaw shrugged. We didn't have much of a choice. And we still don't. Alderpaw cast a glance at the surging river, the far bank looking impossibly far away. We're gonna have to travel through the filthy place. You know, that might not be a bad thing. Needlepaw mused as the 2 cats padded on side by side, and the first of the two-leg dens grew closer and closer. Alderpaw was already feeling oppressed by the stinks and the noises of the two-leg place. Not funny, Needlepaw, he snapped. I'm not joking. Needlepaw halted and turned to face him. Amusement was glimmering in her green eyes, but her tone was serious as she added, We need to find a kitty pet. A kitty pet? Alderpaw was outraged. Are you feeling okay? I don't think there's a herb for a cat with bees in her brain. No, listen, idiot. Needlepaw gave her... I think that's the first time I've heard the cats say the word idiot. Usually it's mouse brain. I don't know if they've ever said idiot before. They say stupid, right? Do they say stupid? I think they say stupid, but I don't think I know idiot. Baka! Not very immersive. Yeah, where's my mouse brain? No, listen, idiot. Needlepaw gave her ears an impatient flick. A kitty pet might be able to tell us where we can cross the river. Alderpaw snorted. What makes you think that? A kitty pet would know this area well, Needlepaw replied. Which we do not. And maybe it would even give us some kitty pet food. Alderpaw wanted to retch with disgust. You're joking now, right? No. We still have a long journey ahead, Needlepaw meowed. It makes sense to fill up while we can. I'm not filling up on that stuff, Alderpaw muttered as they set off again. It's totally against the warrior code to eat kitty pet food. And they said it looks like mouse droppings. Alderpaw knew there was no point in protesting anymore as he followed Needlepaw towards the two-leg place. She kept marching on determinedly until they reached a thunder path that ran alongside the nearest dens. Needlepaw halted, glancing up and down for monsters, then stretched out a paw and rested it gently on the hard black surface of the thunder path. What are you doing? Alderpaw asked. Feeling for vibrations, Needlepaw replied. Monsters are so huge, you can feel them coming before you even see them. That's useful, Alderpaw murmured. He had never seen Needlepaw do that before, but then Sandstorm and then Mole Whisker and Cherryfall had taken the lead when they'd crossed thunder paths on the outward journey. I wonder how much wandering Needlepaw has done on her own before this. Needlepaw's prodding him in the side roused Alderpaw from his thoughts. Come on, it's safe to cross. Alderpaw felt more and more uneasy as he bounded across the thunder path behind Needlepaw and followed her as she plunged deep into the network of two-legged dens. It's like she owns the place, he thought. How can she stand getting so close to Two Legs? They might even pick us up and stroke us. How much do you want to bet as well? Needlepaw probably has visited Two Legs quite frequently. Probably eats their food. Loud paw moment. She does. Hi, Bush. Thank you for the follow. His whole body thrilled with tension as Needlepaw trotted up to a male Two-Leg who was bathing a bright blue monster outside his den. Showing no fear at all, she rubbed up against the Two-Leg's leg and let out a friendly little trill. Before the Two-Leg could make a grab, Alderpaw dashed up and gave Needlepaw a shove, pushing her until they were well away. What are you doing? Do you want him to feed you to his monster? Don't be stupid, Needlepaw retorted. Thank you for the hydrate. Do need some hydrating. Don't be stupid, Needlepaw retorted. Don't you know that if you cozy up to Two Legs, they'll often give you a piece of meat or something else tasty? I do it all the time at the Greenleaf Two-Leg place on ShadowClan territory. Hi, Fred. Of course, it wouldn't work for you, she added, looking Alderpaw up and down. It only works for cute cats. You've got peas in your brain, Alderpaw growled. Just keep moving. Looking smug, Needlepaw strode on again, her tail waving high in the air. To Alderpaw's relief, as soon as they rounded the next corner, they spotted a kitty pet. A large ginger tom stretched out lazily on top of a wall. Hi there! Needlepaw yowled as she charged up to him. Dehydrate! Oh my god. I don't actually have coffee with me. So you gotta double hydrate instead. Ah! Hi, the kitty pet responded, startled out of his doze. How can I help you? We're clan cats, and we're lost, Needlepaw explained. We need to get back to our territories. And to do that, we have to cross the river. Do you know the way? Alderpaw was surprised and a little disturbed that Needlepaw was giving the kitty pet so much information. We don't know this cat, but then, he reassured himself, he probably has no idea what she's meowing about. The ginger tom stretched his jaws in a huge yawn. You have anything to do with those 3 cats who were here at sunrise? He asked. 3 cats? Alderpaw pressed forward urgently. A cream and brown tom, a ginger she-cat, and a younger tabby? Orange tabby? The kitty pet nodded. That's them. They were really upset. They said they'd lost 2 young cats. Wonderful relief surged over Alderpaw. Did they say where they were going? You're the cats they lost, right? The kitty pet's eyes were full of sympathetic interest. They were looking for a place, too, to cross the river. And did you tell them? Needlepaw asked. Right down there. The ginger tom pointed out with his tail to a narrow alley that led between 2 rows of two-leg dens. That brings you back to the river. Little way downstream, there's a bridge. A 2-leg bridge? Alderpaw asked doubtfully. Of course a 2-leg bridge, mouse brain. Needlepaw gave Alderpaw an irritated shove. We've dealt with those before. Thanks, she added, looking up at the kitty pet again. Anytime, the kitty pet responded with another yawn. Alderpaw was beginning to turn away when another thought struck him. You haven't seen another, bigger group of cats traveling through here? Yes, the kitty pet. It would have been a while ago. The kitty pet shook his head. Sorry, no. So SkyClan didn't come this way. Thanks anyways, Alderpaw mewed, his last hope dying of finding the lost clan. Again, he was turning to leave, but Needlepaw didn't seem keen to follow. Before we go, she began, could you help us out with some food? We're really hungry. Sure. The Ginger Tom rose to his paws and stretched. Follow the wall along the opening. I'll meet you there. With that, he leaped down from his perch and disappeared. What a nice cat. Needlepaw bounded eagerly alongside the wall, and Alderpaw followed reluctantly. The kitty pet was waiting for them beside a piece of fence made of something shiny and hard, with wide gaps between the bars. Needlepaw and Alderpaw slipped through. In front of them was a rough, pebbly surface, and beyond it, a stretch of grass surrounded by bushes and bright two-leg flowers. Beyond that rose the walls of the two-leg den. Alderpaw's fur began to bristle at the thought of actually standing on two-leg territory. The food's in here, the kitty pet meowed, pointing with his tail. Turning in that direction, Alderpaw's pelt bushed up in horror. The kitty pet was pointing to a small den at the end of the pebbly path. A monster was crouching in the opening. You can't go in there, he gasped to Needlepaw, who was already heading for the small den with the kitty pet at her side. The monster's asleep, Needlepaw replied nonchalantly. And to be honest, don't tell them Beck and Cat. I'm kind of curious to taste kitty pet food. But what if... Alderpaw broke off as Needlepaw, ignoring him, disappeared into the monster's den with the kitty pet. He didn't attempt to follow. No cat is going to catch me eating kitty pet food. Instead, he kept watch, in case two legs appeared from the den or the monster showed signs of waking up. All the while, he was tearing at the grass with his front claws, flexing them in and out with impatience. With every heartbeat they delayed here, his clanmates were getting further and further away. At last, Needlepaw and the kitty pet reappeared from the monster's den. Needlepaw was swiping her tongue around her jaws with satisfaction. That was great, she mewed. Thanks, Bob. Bob? Bob? Alderpaw thought. The kitty pet's name is Bob? Weird. Yeah, thanks, Bob, he repeated. You've been real helpful. Glad to, Bob responded, touching noses with Needlepaw. Good luck on your journey. Alderpaw headed off down the alley Bob had showed them earlier, and Needlepaw pattered along by his side. You can thank me later, she meowed. My idea totally worked. Now we know how to cross the river, and we can make our way back home. She paused for a moment, then added, What's the matter with you? Why don't you look happier? Alderpaw had hoped he managed to conceal the heavy weight that had begun to gather inside him ever since Bob had told him that he hadn't seen any sign of SkyClan. But clearly it was impossible to hide anything from Needlepaw. Halting, he turned towards her. Don't you get it? He asked bitterly. It's because I failed. What kind of medicine cat am I? Classic Bob. Chapter 21. Needlepaw looked puzzled. What do you mean? She asked. You know what I mean. Alderpaw tried to choke back his anger at Needlepaw's obtuseness. SkyClan left the gorge after the rogues attacked them, and no cat seems to know where they went. We were supposed to save them. We just got there way too late. How can you be sure? Needlepaw asked, tilting her head to one side. Because the other clans, our clans, drove SkyClan out of the forest. That was so shameful. It's been a secret ever since. My visions were telling me to go to SkyClan and bring them back to our shared territory by the lake. To clear the sky, like in the prophecy. Alderpaw's voice began to shake as he realized the depth of his failure. I messed up. I didn't understand the first vision right away, and then Sandstorm died. We got to the gorge too late. We couldn't find what lay in the shadows because SkyClan had already left. Now the sky will never be clear. Who knows what'll happen to the clans? And it's all because I'm a terrible medicine cat. Crash out. He crouched down on the hard two-leg path and rested his nose on his paws, letting out a desolate whimper. It seemed there was nothing but darkness ahead of him. Needlepaw said nothing, and when Alderpaw at last looked up again, she was sitting watching him with her tail curled neatly around her forepaws and a skeptical look on her face. Are you done? She asked. Alderpaw flicked an ear, annoyed with Needlepaw and with himself for breaking down in front of her. I guess so. You're being stupid and self-pitying. I love her. Needlepaw's tone was harsh. It would have taken the rogues a long time to set up in SkyClan's old camp, and from the way you described Miss Feather, all ragged and skinny, the attack didn't happen just yesterday. With the timing of your visions, there's no way we could have made it to the gorge in time to save SkyClan. Alderpaw took all that in, beginning to feel a tiny bit better. So? He mewed at last. So? Needlepaw responded, rising to her paws and heading down the alley. Your visions must mean something else. Alderpaw was silent for a moment, thinking everything over. At the end of the alley, they spotted the bridge a little ways downstream, where Bob had told them it was. To his relief, it wasn't a huge thunder path carrying monsters across the river, but a narrow wooden structure, a bit like the half-bridges that jutted out into the lake. With no two legs in sight, it only took a couple of heartbeats for Alderpaw and Needlepaw to dart across. On the opposite side of the river, a small stream trickled into the main current, tracking through long grasses with a belt of woodland beyond. Alderpaw's spirits rose as they headed into the trees, but he still couldn't stop worrying over the meaning of his quest. He had to admit that what Needlepaw had said made sense, but if my visions weren't leading me to SkyClan so I could save them, what were they doing? It was hard for him to feel that anything had been accomplished on this journey. We haven't saved any cats. We haven't embraced what we found in the shadows. We barely managed to survive ourselves. And we lost Sandstorm. Is there something else I should have done? Without guidance from StarClan, Alderpaw felt as helpless as a kid. Together, Alderpaw and Needlepaw trekked across open country for several sunrises. Even more? Heading towards the setting sun. They crossed thunderpaths, skirted two-leg places, and found their way through fields where strange animals cropped the grass and watched them curiously. Now, towards the end of another tough day, Alderpaw was weary and cold, tired of sleeping under bushes or in drafty hollows in the ground. He longed for his comfortable nest in the stone hollow. At least my hunting skills have improved, he thought grimly. Seems like all I needed was to go hungry a few times, to concentrate my mind on prey just like Mole Whisker wanted me to. From time to time, he and Needlepaw had picked up the scent of the other questing cats, which reassured them that they were going in the right direction. But each time they found the traces, they were fainter and staler, as if the others were moving faster and drawing further ahead. The daylight was dying and gray clouds were massive overhead. A chilly wind blew across the grass, ruffling the cat's fur. Now and again, Alderpaw felt a sharp sting of rain, and he guessed that a storm was coming. That's all we need, he groaned inwardly. Suddenly, Needlepaw, a little ways ahead, let out an excited cry and began racing forward. Wait, what's the matter? Alderpaw called after her. It's the farm! Needlepaw tossed the words over his shoulder. The one we passed through on the way! Bounding after Needlepaw, Alderpaw spotted the shiny fence in the field where the tall, yellow-brown plants had grown. Now only spiky stubble remained, and there was no sign of the monster with the spinning jaws. Needlepaw reached the fence and easily scrambled over it, then pelted onward towards the cluster of two-legged dens. Wait, come back! Alderpaw yowled, but Needlepaw ignored him. At the same moment, the skies opened and rain cascaded down, drenching Alderpaw within heartbeats. He could barely see Needlepaw ahead of him, through the driving screen of raindrops. When he reached the fence, the shiny strands were already so wet and slippery that it took all his concentration to clamber over. A sharp pang stabbed through Alderpaw as he remembered Sandstorm. This is where everything went wrong. This terrible sharp fence, and the sticky mud that made her wound worse. We must have passed her grave on the way without even realizing it. Oh, Sandstorm, I'm sorry. Landing awkwardly on the other side, Alderpaw pushed aside his memories and managed to spot Needlepaw, still heading towards the center of the farm. Stop! Come back! He called again, but if she heard him, she paid no attention. Foxdung! Alderpaw snarled. He knew that the sensible thing to do was leave the farm, shelter under some trees until the storm was over, and then work out the best way to go. But he felt he had no choice now but to follow Needlepaw. She ran past the cluster of two-legged dens and headed into the field with the big yellow barn. Wide wooden doors barred the entrance, but there was a gap at the bottom, and Needlepaw managed to squeeze through. Growling with annoyance, Alderpaw flattened himself to the muddy ground and dragged himself through after her, the bottom of the door scraping his back fur. Staggering to his paws, Alderpaw looked around. The huge barn was divided into sections of wooden barriers, and he sniffed when he saw the horses were standing in two of them. "Needlepaw, watch out!" he called, then realized that long tendrils were tethering the horses in place. "Thanks, StarClan. There's no way they'd get to us." Needlepaw ran into one of the empty sections, then popped her head out and beckoned Alderpaw with a flick of her ears. "Come on, Mousebrain!" Alderpaw followed her. Inside the section, the barn floor was covered by dry stalks that reminded him of the yellow-brown plants in the field. A warm animal smell filled the air. The scent of horses was strongest, but Alderpaw detected mice too. "Why did you come in here?" he asked Needlepaw, anger still surging inside him. "Haven't you learned anything? Two legs are dangerous." Needlepaw settled down among the spiky stalks and began to groom herself. "I never want to live with two legs," she mewed between strokes of her tongue, "but they do have nice warm dens and loads of food. Would you rather be outside in the rain right now?" Listening to the rain battering down on the roof, Alderpaw had to admit that the annoying she-cat had a point. Letting out a sigh, he sank down into the stalks beside her. "We can leave when the rain stops," Needlepaw pointed out. "For now, we've got a safe place to rest and plenty of mice to eat." Abandoning her grooming, she sprang to her paws and dived into a heap of stalks. Heartbeats later, she emerged again with bits of the stalks all over her fur and the body of a plump mouse gripped firmly in her jaws. "This is for you," she meowed, dropping the prey in front of Alderpaw. "Just to say sorry for not listening to you out in the rain." When did Needlepaw ever listen to any cat? Alderpaw reflected, shaking his head. "Thanks," he told her, and sank his teeth into the warm prey. Needlepaw caught another mouse for herself and settled down to eat it beside Alderpaw. Gradually, Alderpaw managed to relax. The warmth, his full belly, and the repetitive sound of the rain outside soon lulled him into sleep. "It's good to see you." Alderpaw opened his eyes, aware at first of the glimmer of starlight on the surface of a pool and the soft splashing of water. They missed the S there, so it says plashing. Leaping to his paws, his heart beating wildly, he realized that he was standing beside the moon pool. Sandstorm stood beside him, her pale ginger pelt glowing with the frosty light and the sparkle of stars in her paws. She was purring, and her green eyes shone with love for Alderpaw. "Sandstorm!" Alderpaw breathed out. "I'm so happy to see you." As Sandstorm bent her head to touch her nose to his ear, Alderpaw couldn't help turning away. "It wasn't your fault," Sandstorm told him gently, as if she could hear his thoughts. "It was my time to go. I sensed when I decided to go with you to search for SkyClan that I might not survive the journey. You know," she added, her voice growing softer, "I never wanted to spend my last days as an elder sitting around in camp. I wanted to die doing something important, and your quest gave me the chance to relive a special memory with Firestar." "Are you and Firestar together now, in StarClan?" Alderpaw asked. "Yes, we are," Sandstorm purred. She sat down at the edge of the moon pool and beckoned with her tail for Alderpaw to join her. "Now," she continued, "tell me how your journey has gone. What have you learned?" Frustration welled up inside Alderpaw. "It's been terrible!" he burst out. "I don't think I've learned anything at all." When Sandstorm only waited, her green gaze fixed on him, he began to pour out the story of everything that had happened since she died. Finding Darktail and his cats in the gorge, discovering that they weren't the real SkyClan, and that SkyClan had been driven out, trying to decide what to do, then escaping from the camp and being washed down river with Needlepaw. "Please tell me what to do now," he finished. When Sandstorm didn't respond, Alderpaw let his head droop wretchedly. "I know I've made a complete mess of everything." "How?" Sandstorm asked. Alderpaw thought it was obvious. "I didn't get there in time. If we were meant to save SkyClan to clear the sky, now no cat can do that. I led every cat on this quest into great danger, and what have we accomplished? Nothing. I failed." Unable to even look at Sandstorm anymore, he let out a despairing whimper. A moment later, he felt her nuzzle his neck, and a sense of comfort spread through his body. He managed to look up. "Do you know the difference between you and Sparkpaw?" Sandstorm asked. Alderpaw couldn't see the point of the question. "What?" "Sparkpaw believes she's solved every problem," Sandstorm replied, affection glimmering in her eyes. "And you believe you've caused every problem. You're two sides of the same leaf. You haven't caused this problem," she went on. "You have not failed, and it is not too late to fulfill this quest. It will merely require a different path." "What do you mean?" Alderpaw asked, but even as he spoke the words, he felt himself being shaken. The starshine of the surface of the moon pool began to fade, and Sandstorm's shape faded with it. "Wait!" Alderpaw exclaimed. "What different path?" But he was already waking to find Needlepaw shaking his shoulder. "It stopped raining," she meowed. "I thought you'd want to know, since you're so eager to get home." Groggily, Alderpaw sat up. "Yeah, let's go home," he murmured. "But," he added silently to himself, "we'll need to follow a different path." Alderpaw and Needlepaw are SkyClan now. That's the plot twist. I don't know why my fingers are... Maybe SkyClan was the friends we made along the way. You know what's funny? That actually makes sense, though. Because that's the only time that sentence has actually made sense. Because SkyClan did get formed from the friends that Firestar made along the way. Technically. Thank you for the star! You're all paws! It's hot in my room. I gotta put on my fan. Wow. Chapter 22. 2 more chapters! I guess 1, 2, 3. I guess like the 3 chapters technically, because we haven't read chapter 22. Alderpaw and Needlepaw were approaching the first thunder path they had crossed after they left their territories so many days ago. Tired and sore-pawed, Alderpaw was struggling with mixed feelings at the thought of being so close to home. "I can't wait to get back to ShadowClan territory," Needlepaw mewed as she trotted along at his side. "I've missed my den so much, and..." "Won't you be in trouble with your clan?" Alderpaw asked. "What's your mentor gonna say?" "Apprentices aren't supposed to leave without permission." "I left in service of my clan, remember?" Needlepaw replied. "Because I knew you sneaky ThunderClan cats were going in search of what you find in the shadows. Besides," she added airily, "no cat ever really gets in trouble in ShadowClan. Sure, the older cats will yowl and stomp a bit, but what can they..." Her voice trailed off as they drew closer to the thunder path and halted at the sight of glittering monsters flashing past in both directions. Alderpaw wasn't really listening to her anymore. He stood still, staring thoughtfully into the distance. After a moment, Needlepaw prodded him. "What are you doing?" "Thinking." Needlepaw gave an exasperated snort. "Thinking about what?" "I'm not looking forward to getting home," Alderpaw replied with a sigh, "because that means the quest will be over, and I still don't know what it was about." "It was about embracing what you find in the shadows, right? And we didn't find it, but we found out a lot about it. You don't have to stand here moping over it. Why can't we just go?" "Because I feel there was more I should be doing." Reluctantly, Alderpaw admitted to himself that he would have to tell Needlepaw about Sandstorm visiting him when he was sleeping in the two-leg barn. He had tried hard to work around what the Starry Warrior had meant by a different path. But with the last paw steps of their quest ahead of him, and he still had not found understanding. "I had a dream," he began. Needlepaw's eyes widened as he revealed to her what Sandstorm had said. Why didn't you tell me earlier? She asked. Alderpaw shrugged awkwardly. It was my vision. I wanted to figure it out for myself. After all we've been through, Needlepaw responded with an exaggerated sigh. You should realize that you need me. She mused, glancing around her. A different path. I don't think Sandstorm meant a literal different path. Alderpaw meowed. Just a different way of thinking, like... But Needlepaw wasn't paying attention. Look! She cried, dodging away from the thunder path. Alderpaw watched as she bounded down a dip in the grass beside the edge of the black surface. It led to a tunnel opening, its mouth covered by bars and hard two-leg stuff that were set wide enough for a cat to slip between them. A musty, damp scent flowed out of the opening. What are you doing? Alderpaw demanded, as he trailed after Needlepaw. That looks dangerous. Needlepaw turned back to him, rolling her eyes. Have you got bees in your brain, or what? Look, we came over the thunder path, and now here's a different path that leads under it. Plus, it's all in shadow. We can go this way. I love her. She's so funny. Hi, femboy. Thank you for the follow. You're the one with bees in your brain, Alderpaw retorted. I know StarClan just wanted us to go through a tunnel. It's dark in there, and it smells weird. There could be anything lurking inside, and I can see water in the bottom of it. But there was no point in arguing. Needlepaw was already wriggling through the bars. You never listen to me! Alderpaw groaned, but the she-cat took no notice. Alderpaw sighed. This is where WindClan once hung out, in a drainage pipe. But the she-cat took no... Okay, Alderpaw sighed, glancing from the thunderpath to the tunnel and back again. The thunderpath wasn't as crowded with monsters as when they had crossed it before. He could ignore Needlepaw, head over the thunderpath, and let her fend for herself. After all, she's not a part of my clan. She's not even supposed to be on this quest. But even while the arguments passed through his head, he knew there was no point to them. He was following Needlepaw into the tunnel. The stench caught him in the throat as he squeezed through the bars, and it was hard to stop himself from retching. Alderpaw picked his way carefully through the water, and realized that there was a higher area to one side, where he could scramble up and keep his paws dry. The tunnel was full of shadows, but once Alderpaw readjusted his eyes, he realized there was a little light filtering from the entrance behind him, and the glow of the gap on the other side. He could see Needlepaw's figure, dark against the distant outlet, bounding along ahead of him. I wonder where Sandstorm would even want us to go next, she meowed, her voice echoing strangely in the tunnel. What's most different? Maybe we shouldn't even head back the way we came anymore. What if we went in another direction? She continued, halting and half-turning back towards Alderpaw. We could loop all the way around clan territories and come in through Shadow Clan. Maybe head over the other way around the lake, through River Clan. I've only been on River Clan territory once, she added reflectively, and they caught me and sent me home with a scolding. This girl longs for adventure. Alderpaw shook his head. You're mouse-brained, he responded. Needlepaw turned to go on, and Alderpaw was about to follow when he heard a soft cry coming from further into the darkness, right against the wall of the tunnel. He froze, his ears pricked when the cry came again. He carefully padded towards it. Babies? In the dim light, Alderpaw could just make out a nest of moss and dry leaves with something squirming inside it. At first he pulled back sharply, then he leaned forward again with a gasp of shock as his nose picked up the familiar milky scent of kits. A tiny black and white kit was laying in the nest, with a tiny gray one beside it, their colors hardly visible in the darkness. The kits seemed to sense Alderpaw's presence, and they craned towards him. Their eyes touched tight shut, their pink mouths open to let out high-pitched mews. Oh, they're like newborns! What's the matter? Needlepaw was bounding back down the tunnel towards Alderpaw. Why are you so... She skidded to a halt as she spotted the nest. There... Alderpaw began. They're kits! Needlepaw shook her head in disbelief. Where's their mother? She asked, glancing around. Their eyes aren't even open yet. They can only be a few days old. And they're so thin, Alderpaw added. I can tell they haven't eaten in a while. I'll go and look for their mother. Needlepaw bounded to the other side of the tunnel and wriggled out through the bars. Alderpaw could hear her calling outside. Alderpaw scooped over the nest and examined the kits more closely. Both of them were she-kits, and under their fur they seemed to be just skin and bone. "Hey, Needlepaw!" he yowled. "Forget their mother for now. These kits need to eat. Catch something, right away." "Okay," Needlepaw yowled back. A few heartbeats later, she slid through the bars again and bounded along the tunnel to join Alderpaw. She was gripping a fat vole in her jaws. "That was quick," Alderpaw mewed admiringly. "Now we chew up the meat and feed it to the kits." When they had chewed some of the fresh kill into a pulp, Alderpaw gently opened the gray kit's mouth and dropped the pulp in. The kid choked, spitting the meat out again. "Oh, mouse dung," Needlepaw sighed. "They're not used to eating this stuff yet. They need milk." "Well, unless you have any, we have to keep trying with the vole," Alderpaw meowed determinedly. He dropped more pulp into the kit's mouth, then massaged her throat so that she would swallow. The kit began choking again, but after a moment, the chewed-up vole disappeared, and she began wailing for more. "Thanks, Star Clan," Alderpaw exclaimed. Needlepaw began to feed the black and white kit, and soon both tiny creatures were sucking eagerly at the pulp, desperate to fill their bellies. "They would have starved without us," Needlepaw murmured, sounding unusually gentle as she blinked affectionately at her kit. Unexpected warmth spread through Alderpaw. "I might have failed in my quest, but at least we saved these kits." "Now we need to get them warm," he mewed. When finally the kits stopped eating, their little bellies distended. They were already cuddling up to him and Needlepaw, drawn by the heat of their bodies. "Ow!" Alderpaw yelped as the gray kit batted him on the nose. "Your claws are sharp." He began to lick the gray kit, his tongue stroking backwards from tail to head to get her blood flowing. Needlepaw did the same for the black and white kit. Soon both kits were purring and sinking into sleep. "It's a good thing we found them when we did," Alderpaw told Needlepaw. "I don't think they would have survived out here much longer." Needlepaw murmured agreement. "I wonder what happened to their mother. Do you think that a monster got her on the Thunderpath?" Alderpaw shuddered at the idea. "I'm not sure, but I think we should bring these kits back to camp, where they can be cared for." "Great idea," Needlepaw meowed. "And I think we should give them names. How about Violet Kit for this little one?" She continued, stroking the black and white kit's head with the tip of her tail. "I'm picking up the scent of violets. I think their mother must have used some of the leaves for their nest." "That's a good name," Alderpaw purred. "And I'm gonna call this one Twig Kit. She's tiny as a twig." Needlepaw let out a meow of laughter. "Twig Kit it is." As they rose, preparing to pick up the sleeping kits by their scruff, Needlepaw turned to Alderpaw with a smirk on her face. "When are you going to thank me for leading you into the tunnel?" she asked. Alderpaw, still concentrating on the kits, gave her a confused stare. "What are you talking about?" "Isn't it obvious?" Needlepaw looked even more smug. "The kits are what you find in the shadows." Oh my god. The kits! The kits! Chapter 23. Alderpaw stood on the ridge, a stiff breeze ruffling his fur, and looked down the slope to where the lake lay glittering in the morning sunshine. He was gripping Twig Kit's scruff in his mouth. The tiny kit was waving her paws around and letting a high-pitched squeak. Alderpaw gently set her down in the rough grass. "We're almost home," he breathed. After they'd left the tunnel, he and Needlepaw had journeyed on until the night fell, when they'd made a temporary den near the place where they had seen the two legs and eaten their food. Needlepaw had caught a couple of mice, and they had fed the kits again. Now the woods and moorland around the lake stretched in front of them, and before sunhide they would be back in their own camps. Needlepaw toiled up to the ridge and stood beside him, letting Violet Kit down into the grass next to her sister. "Made it," she panted. "I guess we ought to say goodbye." Alderpaw began, feeling slightly awkward. "You'll want to go through RiverClan to get back to your territory. It's the quickest way." "Yeah, I suppose so," Needlepaw agreed. Needlepaw?
Feeling even more awkward, Elderpaw turned to face her. Maybe you could keep quiet about what happened in the gorge, at least until I've had the chance to talk to Bramblestar. I told you, the whole SkyClan thing is supposed to be a secret. He cringed inwardly as he spoke, knowing how unlikely it was Needlepaw would keep a secret to oblige a ThunderClan cat. He expected her to hiss at him in anger, but she simply stared at him, her mouth clamped shut. Okay then. Elderpaw realized the best he could hope for was a quick getaway. If you could just help me get Violet Kid onto my back. Needlepaw's jaws gaped open at that. What are you talking about? She demanded. I'm not leaving the Shadow Kids here. I helped find them. And which cat says they're going to ThunderClan? Elderpaw could hardly believe what he was hearing. She has got bees in her brain. If it weren't for my dream, and what Sandstorm told me, we never would have found the kits. Needlepaw's neck fur began to rise and she flattened her ears. And if it weren't for me, she pointed out, and my idea to go through the tunnel, you would still be standing in front of that stupid Thunderpath trying to figure out what different way of thinking Sandstorm was meowing about. Are you kidding me? Elderpaw felt his own pelt bristling as anger swelled up inside of him. Are you kidding me? He hissed. Part of him knew that he was wrong to let his fury out on Needlepaw, but he felt so frustrated that he couldn't help it. This was my quest in the first place. Besides, do you really think I'd let you take the kits back to ShadowClan, where there aren't any rules and apprentices run around thinking up new ways to break the warrior code? I might as well just take them back to the rogues in the gorge. Coward! Needlepaw spat, her face full of disgust. We never would have made it back here if we hadn't broken the warrior code a few times at least. Elderpaw, you're so blinded by rules you can't see what's in front of your own nose. Elderpaw couldn't reply. The mewling of the kits was all that broke the silence. He and Needlepaw looked down at the squirming bundles of fur, and Elderpaw found his concern for them overpowering his anger at Needlepaw. He could see the same feeling in her green eyes. There's one fair way to resolve this, she mewed after a moment. We divide the kits up, and each take one back to our own clans. Elderpaw looked down at the kits, snuggled up together and mewling. An ache tugged at his heart. We can't do that, he responded. It would be wrong. Don't you see, Needlepaw? These kits only have each other now. It's like me and Sparkpaw. I don't always agree with her, but I can't imagine life without her. Mewing. Needlepaw was silent, gazing down at the kits. I wonder if she has any cats she cares about as much as Sparkpaw and I care for each other, Elderpaw thought. Then, as Elderpaw kept watching Needlepaw and the kits, he was distracted by the yowling of a cat further down the slope. Instinctively, he and Needlepaw moved in front of the kits to guard them, but when Elderpaw looked down and spotted the cat, he let out a yelp of delight. Thank you for the follow, Kuroy! Mulewhisker! His former mentor was bounding up the slope with 3 other ThunderClan cats close behind him. Birchfall, Poppyfrost, and Berrynose. Elderpaw dashed down to meet them beside the horseplace fence. Mulewhisker's eyes were wide with shock and delight. Oh, thanks, StarClan, you're alive, he exclaimed. So are you! Elderpaw felt so light with relief that he could almost imagine floating away. Are Cherryfall and Sparkpaw okay? Yeah, everyone's fine, Mulewhisker assured him. We got back to camp yesterday and told the others what happened. Every cat was devastated to think that you had drowned. We looked for you and Needlepaw back beside the river, but we couldn't find you. So, this morning, Birchfall meowed, coming to stand beside Elderpaw, Bramblestar sent us out as a search party, with Mulewhisker to guide us back to the place where you went missing. How did you survive? Poppyfrost asked, gazing at Elderpaw as if she couldn't quite believe he was there. Needlepaw helped me out of the river, Elderpaw replied. She's here too, just a bit further up the hill. He began to retrace his paw steps, leading the other cats back to the ridge where he had left Needlepaw. Hi, the ShadowClan she-cat mewed as the ThunderClan patrol came up to her. As you see, we've brought company. With one paw, she swept the grasses aside to reveal the 2 kits, now dozing in a mound of fur. Mulewhisker and the others, murmuring in surprise, surrounded the kits and gazed down at them. They're adorable! Poppyfrost exclaimed. Who are they? Oh, this is Berry Nose. Who are they? Berry Nose asks, giving them a suspicious sniff. Where did you find them? I can tell you that all later, Elderpaw replied, but right now the kids need care. They're not well, and we were gonna take them back to ThunderClan camp to nurse them back to health. Needlepaw glared at him. Actually, that's a good idea. Birchfall spoke with authority. Clearly he was the leader of the search party. Elderpaw, you're a medicine cat yourself, so you can help watch over them. But I found the kids too, Needlepaw objected, her shoulder fur beginning to rise again. We found them together. We think that maybe the kids are, well, they're what StarClan wanted us to find. The ThunderClan patrol exchanged surprised glances. Do you believe that? Birchfall asked Elderpaw. I think it could be, Elderpaw replied, but I'm not sure yet. Then this is what we'll do, Birchfall decided. We'll take the kids back to ThunderClan now so that they can be cared for, and then they can be cared for just as well in ShadowClan. Needlepaw interrupted. Can they? Elderpaw wondered. ThunderClan has 2 medicine cats, 3 if you count me. While ShadowClan only has Little Cloud, and he's growing old. Birchfall gave Needlepaw a quelling look, as if he wasn't used to an apprentice who argued all the time. Let me finish, he meowed. The next gathering is in a few days, and we can bring the kids there to decide what will be done. Is that okay, Needlepaw? After all, we can all agree that what's most important is we get the kids well again. Needlepaw ducked her head. Okay, she muttered. Elderpaw noticed that she looked almost chastened by Birchfall's decisive tones. Well, I've never seen that before. Are you okay getting back to ShadowClan camp? Birchfall continued to Needlepaw. Should you even be out on your own? I'll be fine, thanks. Needlepaw responded with a roll of her eyes. Clearly she was fed up with that question, and her respectful demeanor hadn't lasted long. Turning to Elderpaw, she added, I guess I'll see you around then. Elderpaw stared at her, wondering if she had even taken in what he said about keeping SkyClan a secret. I'll look out for you at the gathering, he meowed. As Needlepaw turned away, Elderpaw felt a claw scratch of pain at his heart. After all we've been through together, there should be, I don't know, more. He thought that Needlepaw looked sad too, as she gave him a last look before bounding away down the slope in the direction of RiverClan. Then, as they watched her, Poppyfrost brushed her pelt against his, her eyes glowing softly with admiration. You've done so well, Elderpaw. Yes, ThunderClan will be proud of you, Mollusker told him, and I can't wait to hear what Cherryfall says when she sees the kids. While Birchfall and Berrynose congratulated him too, Elderpaw felt his chest swell with pride. I feel like a hero. Oh, StarClan, it's so good to be home. Last chapter. Chapter 24. Elderpaw poked his head through the entrance to the nursery. Is it okay if I come in? He called softly. Who the heck is Lilyheart? Sure, Lilyheart called back, but watch where you're putting your paws. As Elderpaw became used to the dim light of the nursery, he could see why Lilyheart had told him to be careful. Her own 3 kits, Leaf Kit, Lark Kit, and Honey Kit, were rolling around, play fighting in the thick moss of the bracken that covered the nursery floor. Violet Kit and Twig Kit, their eyes open now, sat watching them. That's how you learn to fight when you're an apprentice, Leaf Kit told the younger kits, sitting up and shaking scraps of moss from her tortoiseshell pelt. What's an apprentice? Twig Kit asked. It's when you're 6 moons old and have a mentor and learn how to become a warrior, Lark Kit replied. And then you get to fight foxes and badgers and rival cats, Honey Kit added. She leaped on top of her brother, growling fiercely. Get out of camp, stinky badger! Stinky yourself, Lark Kit retorted, battering his sister with his hind paws. Hi, Stephanie! Zara! Oh, hi, Zara! Elderpaw skirted the battling kits and settled down in the moss beside Lilyheart. You've got your paws full here, he mewed. I know, but I like it. Lilyheart purred. I have Daisy to help. She's out hunting fresh kill for us right now. That's great, Alderpaw mewed. So, how are you two doing? He asked, stretching out his neck to touch noses with Violet Kit and then Twig Kit.
We're fine, thank you.
Wow, they're so polite, Violet Kit replied. Alderpaw could see that she was right. There was no need to worry about the kit's health anymore. In the few days they had been in camp,
Thank you for the follow, Ravel Man.
their bodies had begun to plump up and their fur was glossy. Their eyes were open now, wide and bright.
It's so nice to be here with our mother.
Twig Kit added, leaning closer to Lilyheart.
She's not your mother.
The Leaf Kit piped up before Alderpaw or Lilyheart could respond.
She's our mother. You came from a long ways away, beyond the lake even.
The two younger kits glanced at each other, confused and a little hurt. Don't worry, little ones, Lilyheart mewed, bending her head to lick each kid around the ears. I love you just as much as if I were your real mother. That's right, Alderpaw agreed, nuzzling the kits affectionately. All you need to know is that you're very special. Reassured, the two kits began to purr contentedly. For a moment, Alderpaw gave himself up to the satisfaction of having saved them, whatever that might mean. They're lovely, Lilyheart meowed. I'd be happy to keep them as part of my family, and my kits love them too. Alderpaw nodded, but he knew that the real decision about the kits' future would be made at the gathering that night. I hope they'll be allowed to stay here, he thought, realizing how attached to them he had become. But that's not for me to decide. Emerging from the nursery, Alderpaw almost slammed into Jayfeather. There you are, Jayfeather exclaimed crossly. I've been looking everywhere for you. I've just been to visit the kits, Alderpaw explained. Jayfeather let out a snort. I should have known. Anyway, you need to come with me. Bramblestar and Leafpool want to talk to you. There had been a time when Alderpaw would have been worried by a summons from his clan leader. Now, although he still felt slightly nervous, anticipation was stirring inside him. As he followed Jayfeather, Alderpaw remembered his return to camp a few days before. All his clan had been excited to welcome him back, and Sparkpaw had barely left his side since. This morning was their first hunting patrol without him, along with Cherryfall, Breakinfur, and Sorrelstripe. Bramblestar had taken the first opportunity to draw Alderpaw aside and ask for his view of what had happened in the gorge. It was so frustrating, Alderpaw admitted. We should have gotten there in time to save SkyClan from the rogues. I feel like I failed. Bramblestar rested his tail tip briefly on Alderpaw's shoulder. I'm puzzled, he confessed. Why would StarClan send you a vision when it was already too late for you to do anything? But it wasn't your failure, he added hastily. Alderpaw shrugged uneasily. I feel like I've missed something important. I feel like Sandstorm died for nothing, and it was my fault. You're not to blame for Sandstorm's death, Bramblestar assured him firmly. I grieve for her, and so does the rest of our clan, but going on the quest was what Sandstorm wanted. Remember how I tried to forbid her from going? She was determined, and you would have never have convinced her otherwise. I guess so. Alderpaw mewed, though he still couldn't suppress his feelings of guilt. Meanwhile, Bramblestar meowed, changing the subject. I've spoken to Molewhisker, Cherryfall, and Sparkpaw about keeping SkyClan a secret, at least for now. I hope it was okay to tell them. Alderpaw began apologetically, remembering once again that Needlepaw shared the secret too. It's fine. You didn't have much of a choice. I bet Needlepaw told Russet Star, and they're gonna announce it at the gathering. So what are we gonna do about SkyClan and what remains of it? Alderpaw asked, relieved by his father's approval. And what about those horrible rogues in the gorge? I've thought it over, Bramblestar replied, his amber eyes fixed on Alderpaw, and I've come to the conclusion that there's nothing ThunderClan can do for SkyClan now. But Alderpaw began to protest. Bramblestar overrode him. SkyClan has scattered, and no cat knows where they have gone, unless ThunderClan gets more information. Alderpaw felt the weight of his clan leader's stare. He means another vision. Anxiety rose inside him like a gathering storm cloud. Will I have one? What if I don't? I told the rest of the clan that you reached the place you saw in your vision, Bramblestar continued briskly, but you found nothing there. That should be enough to keep SkyClan a secret until we get a stronger sign from StarClan. At least, he hesitated. What about Needlepaw? I asked her to keep the secret, Elderpaw replied, but I don't know whether she will. Bramblestar nodded thoughtfully. It's the best we can do for now, he decided at last. We'll discuss the kits later with Leafpool and Jayfeather, he finished. Thinking back to that earlier meeting, Elderpaw assumed that now he was going to be summoned to talk about Twig Kit and Violet Kit. I hope they can stay with us, he thought. Did I see your fan art? I'm not sure, did I? Where is it? Jayfeather climbed the tumbled rocks, neat-pawed and as confident as if he could see. Elderpaw scrambled up after him and found Leafpool and Squirrelflight already waiting with Bramblestar in his den on the high ledge. Good, you're here. Bramblestar meowed, sweeping his tail affectionately along Elderpaw's back, as if he was still amazed that his son was alive after all. Have you recovered from your journey yet? Yeah, I'm fine. You tagged me in a YouTube post. Let me go check. I'm not usually signed into my Nono account. Oh my gosh, guys, we're 40 subs away from 2K followers on YouTube. Let's see. Where do I... I can't see it. But that does remind me to check on my... Go to work. Don't know. Thank you. Let's see if my ban has been lifted. Guys, my ban's lifted! I need a lot more views, though. Yeah. What was it that banned me? I think it was... Oh, I was watching a sad video, Marimo, and I didn't comment during it because, you know, like, I wanted everyone to watch it and be sad. And then after the stream, I got pinged for copyright and I got a strike and they banned me briefly to... I couldn't become like, I couldn't create a membership in YouTube because of it until like June 6th or something, or maybe it was July 6th. Either way, wait, July hasn't happened yet, so June 6th. Yeah. So that's what happened. But now it's gone! It's lifted! That was like back in February or January or something. I was like banned for like 3 months. Can you kill them? Yeah, why not? Okay, wait. Let's continue reading. Let's continue reading. We're almost done. Jeffel from Deltarune, because you remind me of him. Oh, I really want to see it! Needlessly long. I know, right? Like, I'm not even a member, so I wouldn't have gotten money from it anyways. Like, why? Anyways. We need to talk about the future, Bramblestar announced. Most urgently about Twig Kit and Violet Kit. With a wave of his tail, he invited the other cats to sit down. Elderpaw, tell us what you know. Alderpaw stayed on his paws as he described how Sandstorm had come to him in a dream and given him the clue that allowed him and Needlepaw to find the kits in the tunnel. Needlepaw really helped? Squirrelflight asked, sounding surprised. Oh, yeah. It was her idea to go through the tunnel, and she helped me bring the kits back to the lake and helped feed and care for them, too. She was really gentle with them. So the question remains about what to do with them now. Bramblestar continued. Leafpool, Jayfeather, do you think that they could be what you find in the shadows, according to the prophecy? Jayfeather wriggled his shoulders as if he felt uncomfortable in his pelt. I'm not sure. It feels too simple. Maybe they're just a pair of abandoned kits. Their mother was probably killed on the Thunderpath, or maybe a fox got her. But Sandstorm told Alderpaw that there was still time to succeed in this quest, Leafpool pointed out. Her eyes briefly shadowed as she named her dead mother. Oh yeah, her mom's dead. That's sad. And then she told him how to find the kits. I think they could well be what you find in the shadows, and if we embrace them, the sky will clear. Alderpaw, what do you think? Squirrelflight asked. Alderpaw blinked nervously at being put on the spot. They could be, he replied, but I think it's too soon to be sure. We'll know more when the kits grow older. Well said. Bramblestar mewed approvingly, and that means we shouldn't give up the kids up. Jayfeather let out a snort. I can't see ShadowClan agreeing to that. And as much as I hate to admit it, they have a point. As Alderpaw tells it, Needlepaw was at least half responsible for finding the kits, and so ShadowClan has a claim on them. That may be true, Bramblestar agreed with a sigh, but we'll wait and see what's said at the gathering. We know what ShadowClan will say. Jayfeather twitched his whiskers, even though the last thing Rowan Star needs is 2 more young cats to keep track of. Bramblestar let out a rumble of amusement from deep in his chest. Alderpaw couldn't share it. The mention of ShadowClan had made him think of Needlepaw. A chilly wind ruffled the surface of the lake, breaking up the reflection of the full moon, which floated serenely in the sky above. Branches creaked and rustled in the blast, and dead leaves whirled around through the air. Alderpaw fluffed up his fur against the cold as he padded along the lakeshore with his clanmates. Violet rode on his back, her tiny claws digging deep into his pelt. Beside him, Sparkpaw was carrying Twigkit. I don't think RiverClan and WindClan know anything about our quest to find SkyClan, or what you find in the shadows, she meowed to Alderpaw. Won't they be surprised? I mean, that we found what lies in the shadows anyway. They'll be furious enough to claw their own ears off when they discover that a ThunderClan cat found it. But Bramblestar isn't completely sure the prophecy refers to these kits, Alderpaw pointed out mildly. You mean he won't say? Sparkpaw responded. She gave an excited bounce, nearly dislodging Twigkit, who let out a squeak of alarm. Oops, sorry, Twigkit! Anyway, Sparkpaw continued, the kits totally are what you find in the shadows, and you'd have to be the stupidest furball in the forest not to know it. Alderpaw blinked contently and let her chatter on as they splashed through the stream and followed Bramblestar and the senior warriors alongside the lake through WindClan territory. It was good to be with Sparkpaw again, and to bask in her cheerful confidence after all the dangers they had suffered. They were drawing near to the edge of WindClan territory when Alderpaw spotted One Star and his cat streaming down the hillside and heading around the lake ahead of them, past the horse place. Who are all those cats? Violet Kid asked, sounding nervous. Oh, that's WindClan, Alderpaw replied. Has no cat told you about the clans? Sparkpaw asked. They should have, honestly. Well, she went on, obviously delighted to show off her knowledge to the kids. There are 4 clans around the lake. We're ThunderClan. We're the best. Those skinny rabbit chasers up ahead are WindClan, and then there's RiverClan and ShadowClan. You'll meet cats from all of them tonight. Yes, all the clans meet at the full moon. It's called the Gathering, Alderpaw added, on that island in the lake. Can you see it? He waved his tail towards the dark bulk of the island. I'm scared, Twigkit mewed. I don't want to meet so many cats. There's nothing to be scared of, Sparkpaw told her briskly. Cats never fight at the Gathering. In fact, you're both very lucky. Kits usually aren't allowed to go to gatherings. You're only here because you're special. Think what you'll have to tell Leaf Kit, Lark Kit, and Honey Kit when you get home. Alderpaw meowed. If you get home, he added silently. Twig Kit and Violet Kit clung on tightly as Alderpaw and Sparkpaw carried them across the tree bridge to the island, pushing through the bushes to reach the clearing around the great oak. Alderpaw saw the open space filled with cats. The scents of the other 3 clans hung heavily in the air, and he realized that ThunderClan was the last clan to arrive. He and Sparkpaw settled down with the kits in the shelter of a bush at the edge of the clearing, while the kits gazed around with huge eyes.
I didn't think there were so many cats in the world.
Violet Kit mewed. Almost at once, Alderpaw spotted Needlepaw at the far side of the clearing, beyond the great oak. Her eyes widened at the sight of Alderpaw with the kits. Alderpaw expected her to cross the clearing to meet him, but she didn't move until a white ShadowClan Tom padded up to her. Needlepaw exchanged a few words with him, then turned her back on Alderpaw and walked away with the Tom at her side. Alderpaw lost sight of her in the crowd. Interesting. An odd, empty feeling gathered in Alderpaw's belly. He was happy to be back with his own clan, especially when his clanmates were so pleased with him. But he still felt bad about the way Needlepaw had gone home alone without so much of a farewell. He was nervous, too, about what she might have told her clanmates about SkyClan. Part of him wanted to bound across the clearing and find her, but he knew that for now his place was with the kits. And when the final decision was made about their future, he and Needlepaw would be rivals. Alderpaw realized that while these thoughts had been passing through his mind, the 4 leaders had leaped up to the branches of the great oak. The deputies had gathered on the roots, while the medicine cats sat nearby. Gradually, silence fell over the cats in the clearing.
I'll begin, shall I?
Misty Star began when she had greeted the clans. Prey has been plentiful in RiverClan, and... She broke off with an annoyed look as Rowan Star interrupted by rising to his paws and pacing to the edge of his branch. Why are we acting like this is a typical gathering? The ShadowClan leader demanded. I know you. I know that Bramblestar has news to share, don't you? He added, turning to face the ThunderClan leader and giving him a hard stare. Bramblestar froze for a moment. Alderpaw knew what he must be thinking, and he felt the same flare of panic. Did Needlepaw tell Rowan Star about SkyClan? News that might relate to the prophecy? Maybe about some young cats? Rowan Star continued, his voice heavily sarcastic. Surely you would want to tell us all about that. Alderpaw drew in a long breath of relief. She didn't give away the secret. Clearing his throat, Bramblestar rose to his paws. Yes, there's been news. He meowed, raising his voice so that every cat in the clearing could hear him. But I'm not sure that it relates to the prophecy. Our medicine cat apprentice, Alderpaw, went on a quest to find what lies in the shadows. Sadly, our wise elder Sandstorm died on that quest, and her whole clan grieves for her. But on his way home, Alderpaw found these 2 kits. Bramblestar pointed with his tail, just outside our territories. Alderpaw realized that every cat was staring at him, and the 2 kits with him and Sparkpaw. He wanted to hide under the nearest bush, but he made himself sit still and meet the curiosity with a calm gaze. I don't think that's quite right, Bramblestar, Rowan Star went on. Don't you mean that Alderpaw and Needlepaw found the kits, working together? Didn't Needlepaw save Alderpaw's life on the quest, helping him to shore when he was drowning? Bramblestar dipped his head. Yes, that's true. But what was Needlepaw doing there in the first place? Is it normal for ShadowClan apprentices to wander off by themselves? That is not your concern, Rowan Star snapped. Alderpaw could see he was embarrassed by the question. ShadowClan can look after its own apprentices, thank you very much. What's important is that ThunderClan did not find these kits without help, and what I understand, he added, twitching his whiskers, is that the kits were brought to ThunderClan for urgent care from your medicine cats, but where they would stay permanently would be decided at this meeting. Before Bramblestar could respond, Misty Stars took a step forward. I think One Star and I would appreciate a bit more information, she mewed politely. This is the first time we've heard about this quest. You bet we would. One Star growled from where he crouched on a lower branch, hardly more than his eyes visible among the leaves. Or is this another case of ThunderClan thinking it can control the whole forest? Not at all, Bramblestar replied. Elder Pocatelli was making an effort to hold on to his temper. The ThunderClan leader launched into an account of the quest, although he left out any mention of SkyClan. Sandstorm's spirit guided Alderpod to discover the kits, he finished. That makes me think that they must be important for us somehow, even if they're not what you find in the shadows from the prophecy. Even if they're not. The cats in the clearing broke into an excited speculation and argument. Alderpaw was worried that the noise and curious glances would frighten the kids, but they seemed untroubled by it. They were curled up together, listening to what was going on, but clearly not understanding that their future was being decided. Cute. Up in the branches of the great oak, the leaders were wrangling too. You'll never convince me that those kids are what we're meant to embrace, One Star grumbled. I mean, they're kids. What do they know? They don't have to know anything, Rowan Star pointed out with an irritated lash of his tail. But StarClan guided us to them, and that's good enough for me. Misty Star nodded in agreement. We can't be sure about this, Bramblestar meowed, his glance sweeping around to take in the other three leaders. Not until the kids grow and reveal more about themselves. What is clear is that it's the clan's responsibility to take care of them. That's all well and good, Rowan Star responded, baring his teeth in the beginning of a snarl. But it doesn't mean the kids need to stay in ThunderClan. Perhaps they belong in ShadowClan with Needlepaw, who helped find and care for them. But they're happy and safe now, Bramblestar argued. It would be cruel to move them. You would say that, Bramblestar, One Star hissed. All that interests you is keeping the kids for ThunderClan. It looks like that, Bramblestar. Misty Star sounded almost apologetic. But the prophecy came to every clan, not just ThunderClan. You don't have the right to keep the kids. That's so unfair, Sparkpaw exclaimed, but Alderpaw waved his tail for her to be quiet. He didn't want to miss a single word of the argument. I accept that, Bramblestar meowed to Alderpaw's dismay, and I agree that ShadowClan has a claim to the kits, or at least to one of them. Then, the only fair thing, Misty Star pointed out, is for ThunderClan to keep one kit and give the other to ShadowClan. This divorce is breaking them apart! Alderpaw glanced down in horror at Twig Kit and Violet Kit. Splitting them up would be so cruel. What's happening? Twig Kit asked, blinking rapidly in agitation. Yeah, why is every cat angry? Violet Kit added. It's okay, little ones. Alderpaw gave each kit an affectionate lick around the ears. Clan leaders are always arguing. The kids grew calmer, accepting what he said, while Alderpaw felt guilty that he might be lying to them. You don't think Bramblestar will really allow them to be separated? Sparkpaw whispered into his ear. I don't know, Alderpaw murmured in reply, but inwardly he was afraid that their clan leader would. He doesn't really have any choice, with all the other leaders against him. When Alderpaw was able to listen to the leaders again, Bramblestar was speaking. I'm not happy about this, he meowed, but I feel I have to agree that one kit goes to ShadowClan. But that's not good enough, One Star protested, while Alderpaw felt cold all over with despair. What about WindClan and RiverClan? Shouldn't all the clans get to raise the kids together? His suggestion met with silence from the other leaders. Is he mouse-brained? Sparkpaw muttered to Alderpaw. How would that work? One Star just let out a hiss of annoyance and retreated even further into the leaves, glaring out balefully. One Star is so weird. He used to be so nice. Do you remember that? Back in like the first book? What's wrong with him now? Why did this have to happen? The cat's in the clearing. Maybe he's mouse-brained. You're so right, Toki. You're so right. He is mouse-brained. Hugh and Firestar were friends and then he became rude. Didn't he only become rude when he became the leader? Or was he rude before then? I can't remember. Or maybe he was rude when he became the deputy? Leader. Okay, it was the leader. This guy. His real feelings all of a sudden burst out.
Actually, Firestar, I've hated you all along.
Power corrupts, it's so true. The cats in the clearing were still whispering together. Some of them crowded around to get a good look at the kits. Twig Kit and Violet Kit shrank closer together, looking even smaller with so many fully grown cats looming over them.
Back off, flea pelts! Sparkpaw hissed. You're scaring them.
Up in the great oak, Misty Star was lashing her tail in frustration. Is there any other business to discuss? She called out, trying to make herself heard above the buzz of the conversation. Don't be ridiculous, One Star growled. No cat's gonna want to talk about day-to-day business after all this.
Then I declare the gathering to an end,
Misty Star announced. She jumped down from the tree and disappeared into a crowd of RiverClan warriors. Alderpaw's heart pounded with apprehension as Bramblestar and Rowenstar leaped down together and thrust their way through the cluster of cats until they reached the bush where he and Sparkpaw waited with the kits.
I can't believe you agreed to this!
Alderpaw burst out as his father approached. Bramblestar's eyes were grave as he bowed his head as he replied, There's no other way. Rowenstar, choose a kit. Rowenstar hesitated, and Alderpaw sensed that he wasn't happy about the solution either. He would protect the rights of ShadowClan against any cat, but he wasn't cruel, and he clearly understood what he was doing.
I'll take the black and white one, he meowed.
That's Violet Kit, Alderpaw told him, unable to stop his voice shaking. Look after her, please. Rowenstar dipped his head.
She will be well taken care of in ShadowClan,
he promised. Then he gently lifted Violet Kit by her scruff. At last the kits understood what was happening. Aww. Violet Kit began to wail in a shrill voice and lashed out helplessly with her tiny paws.
No! No, don't take her!
Twig Kit screeched, flinging herself against Rowenstar's leg and raking her claws through his pelt.
Alderpaw, help me!
Violet Kit begged.
I want to go home. I want Lily Heart.
Alderpaw thought that his heart would shatter into icy splinters. Curling his tail around Twig Kit, he drew her back from Rowenstar. There's no use, little ones, he mewed. This is the way it has to be.
Take her quickly.
Bramblestar snapped at Rowenstar. Instantly, the ShadowClan leader swung around and headed away to where his own clan were gathered ready to leave. Dangling from his jaws, Violet Kit twisted around so that she could still see her sister.
Twig Kit! Twig Kit!
She kept on calling until she vanished from Alderpaw's sight. Jesus. Alderpaw imagined himself being separated from Sparkpaw, and how much it would hurt her. But the pain that clawed through him now was even bigger than that. He felt that the clans were being swept down a long, dark tunnel, and that this terrible separation was only the beginning of even more terrible troubles to come. I should feel happy, he told himself. I found the kits, and they might be the thing that will save the clans if we embrace them. But instead, a sense of foreboding hung over him, like a storm cloud that was only waiting for the right moment to release its fury. He was jerked back to the present by a sharp nudge from Sparkpaw. Stop dreaming! Twig Kit needs you! The little gray kit had collapsed into a heap, letting out a desolate mewling. Alderpaw bent over her and licked her head and her ears. Don't be sad, little one, he murmured. We'll look after you. Do you think they're foreshadowing something? Maybe. All this for politics and faction control. You're so right.
But it's not the same. Twig Kit whimpered. I want Violet now. I want Violet Kit now. And what will she do without Lily Heart?
ShadowClan Cat will look after her, Sparkpaw promised. A nice ShadowClan cat. Alderpaw stroked Twig Kit gently with his tail, and Sparkpaw nuzzled her from the other side, but the little kit wouldn't be comforted. The others are leaving, Sparkpaw mewed. We should go too. Looking up, Alderpaw saw that Bramblestar and his other clanmates were gathering near the foot of the great oak, while the ShadowClan cats streamed past them on their way to the tree bridge. Among them he spotted Needlepaw, with Violet Kit riding on her back. For a moment, Needlepaw caught Alderpaw's eye, and Alderpaw stared back at her. His head was buzzing with questions, like they were bees in a hive. Did you tell them about SkyClan? Will you? Will you take care of Violet Kit? Did you miss me? Do you miss me? Elderpaw wondered what Violet Kit's future would hold. He remembered the loneliness he had sensed in Needlepaw, and he wondered whether Violet Kit would share it now that she had lost her sister. But he realized that there was nothing he could do to control what would happen to her. I can take care of Twig Kit, he thought, looking down at the gray Kit. I always will, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that she's happy. Touching his nose to hers, he felt a sense of warmth spreading through him. If nothing else comes from my quest, at least I can make sure that this little one has a good life.
Dun dun dun! And that's the end. The end. Needlepaw and Alderpaw. Man, I gotta wait until next week for more. It's true. Next week. A Vision of Shadows #2. Thunder and Shadow. Thank you for the follow. Cantikins, yeah, there's clans exclusive and they don't allow clan intermingling. There's the 4 clans and then they have their own territories, and outside of the gathering they're hostile to each other. So a big point of drama is if one cat from one clan falls in love with another cat from another clan and they have to sneak around and like meet each other in the middle of the night. And then when it happens, they're like, ugh, get out of here. You broke the warrior code. Feel shame. Like Dovepaw and Tigerheart, yeah. Like Sonic and Shadow. RuneScape. RuneScape. Romeo and Juliet. It's true. It is like Romeo and Juliet. Anyways, let me read the Thunder and Shadow. Be a VA because you're really good at it. I really want a VA. Oh. Thunder and Shadow. I want to read the blurb. Here's the blurb. Nearly a moon has passed since Alderpaw returned from his journey to SkyClan's Gorge, where he found the territory taken over by rogues. Now the same vicious cats that drove out SkyClan have traced Alderpaw's path back to the lake! And ShadowClan may be the next to fall! Oh, snap. Full of epic adventure and thrilling intrigue, this 5th Warrior series is the perfect introduction for readers new to the Warrior worlds. While for dedicated fans, it's a long-awaited return to the era of Bramblestar's ThunderClan after events of Omen of the Stars. Epic adventure! Yay! We did it, guys! Did it! We finished it! Speaking of the Jebel Fusion thing, part of a project I'm making called B-Rune, which is just Delta and boss fights with us. That's really cool! Neapolitan, if I go to your profile, will I be able to see the artwork that you posted? Oh, I found it! 2 days ago! It's so cute! Wait, this is so perfect! I have a little tail, too! I like the cape you added. Very cute. And since Jevil has a VA and you're technically Jevil, can you show it? Yeah, let me show it. Hold on.
I don't know anything about Deltarune, by the way. Other than it's a sequel to Undertale. Can I window capture?
Ah! Ta-da! Look at the gift! Look at the art! Da-da-da!
And then this is what he looks like.
Yippee!
I like how you did the ponytails quite a bit. Like the... almost like they go big. Oomph, oomph. Oomph, oomph. Very nice. And I like these shoes too. Does he attack with a pole?
Oh my, more in the future! Thank you so much. It's so nice of you.
I love seeing artwork.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Okay, guys.
I am going to head out now.
He attacks with a scythe. Oh, scythes are... yeah. Scythes are, like, weird. They're like triangles, but curvy. Maybe if you draw, like, half a moon or something. Okay.
I'm gonna head off now, guys.
Stream tomorrow, but I don't know, how if it'll be late or not because I have a meeting during the day. But hopefully it'll be okay. We'll probably, depending on my mood, either we'll play a really chill game, or maybe we can play RuneScape. Maybe we can get into RuneScape. Thank you for the stream and I hope you have a good... Thank you! Thank you guys for hanging out and listening to the thrilling tales of warrior cats. It makes me happy that I can still read these on stream. That I've stuck to it. Okay, bye. Look at all you guys. You've all escaped. Back to the pop cup pen. Back to the pop cup pen with you. No! You're trapped. One day. I should get like a little fence. And put it like right here. Pop cup pen. Maybe I can make like a cute like a name thing that says the pop cup pen. Okay, I'm just gonna I'm too lazy to raid anyone because I don't want to open up another browser. Fences can't hold us forever. Maybe not, but they will. For now.
Thank you, Phil. Bye-bye, you guys. Bye-bye. Remember, seeing the good in things is a good thing. I love you. I love you.
Minecraft fence. Yeah, exactly. Just like a Minecraft fence.
Bye. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye, Silver. Thank you for the
40 months. Holy.
bye. Bye. Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon.